So we begin tonight saying V'tein Talum Atali Bracha, praying for rain. Contrary to popular opinion, we have not been praying for rain since Shmini Atzeret. We've been mentioning rain. And the Mishnah, really, the first Mishnah in Sechet Tanya talks about this. It says, when do we start? We have a machloket between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua. So we have twice in our tefillah, two different places where we mention Gshamim, mention Geshem. We have in the second bracha of Batagibor, what we've been saying since Shmini Atzeret, right? Mashiv Ruach, Umarida Geshem. And then we have also in the bracha of V'tein Talum Atali Bracha. So seeing that Sukkot is Chag, is called by the Mishnah, we are told is the time when the world is judged for rain, it makes sense that we start mentioning rain. We have Tfilat Geshem on Sukkot. When do we have that? Machloket Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yoshua. Rabbi Eliezer says already from the first Yom Tov, the first day of Sukkot, you start mentioning rain. Rabbi Yoshua says, no, you wait until the end. You wait until the last day, which is our practice. And Rabbi Yoshua says to Rabbi Eliezer, we know that if it rains on the first day, it's a siman klala. It is an ominous sign. It's a curse. We don't want there to be rain first night of Sukkot. We can't enter our Sukkah. So how can you say that on the first day of Sukkot, when it's a siman klala, you already are praying for rain? So Rabbi Eliezer says, no, I never said we should pray for rain. I say we mention rain. We say Frot Kshamim. Nonetheless, in terms of that, we paskin like Rabbi Yoshua, and we start on the last day. But a few weeks later, we add in Sheilat Kshamim, right? V'tein Talum Atali Bracha in Eretz Yisrael, starting on Zayin Cheshvan in Chutz Laretz. It is one of the only things where we go by since we go by the solar calendar, we go by the date, which is on the secular calendar, 4th of December or whatever it is, but where it's the 60th day of the Tkufa. But nonetheless, the Gemara says that in Eretz Yisrael, it's a higher land. We need the rain earlier. The reason why we wait a few weeks in any event is because in the days when there was Aliyah L'Regel, and it was literally Aliyah L'Regel, there was no cars, no planes, and everybody was out on foot. We wait for all those people who came back from very far, let them get home first. We don't want there to be too much rain on the journey. Let them get home. Zayin Cheshvan, everyone's gone home, and we can start praying for rain. Okay, so as we know, the question is what happens when we start davening and we don't think about what we're saying and we say the wrong things, because we know we are creatures of habit. So there's a study that says that about at least 40% of the things that we do on a daily basis are out of habit, without thinking. It's quite scary when you think about it, that basically half of the actions that we take in our lives are without any conscious thought, without any decisions. For most people, it's probably a lot more than that. But be that as it may. So where does this come in? Where does this have halachic ramifications? So when we're davening, and if we say the wrong thing, so we know if we now have to say V'tein Talum Atali Bracha, we mentioned it previously in a different context. If one says V'tein Bracha, as they're accustomed to, and they didn't ask for rain, they have to go back and have to repeat the Shema Yisrael. If we remember before Shema Koleinu, we can add it in there. But if not, we have to go back and repeat. So if we know that we didn't say it, we know that we go back and repeat. What if we don't know that we didn't say it, but we can't remember, right? The person, we know that the Chazan claps on the bima, says, V'tein Talum Atali Bracha. We start davening. Before we know it, we're on Hashivenu, Shema Koleinu, whatever it is. Say, wait a minute. Did I say V'tein Bracha? Did I say V'tein Talum Atali Bracha? I'm sure this has never happened to anybody here, but and you can't remember. What did you say? So the Yerushalmi says, we go by our habits. We go by what a person is accustomed to doing, go by what you normally do. Problem is sometimes we do this, sometimes we do that. So whatever it's been for the last 30 days. The last 30 days, that's how long it takes to make or break a new habit. We assume, so until we get to Zayin Kislev, we assume that we would, if we weren't thinking about it, we were still saying V'tein Bracha. Beyond that date, if we weren't thinking about it, we're now used to saying V'tein Talum Atali Bracha. Okay. So the Maharam Rottenberg had a very interesting minhag. He had a solution to stop this problem. It's brought down the Maram Mirottenberg, the great Rishon, teacher of the Rosh, would on Shmini Atzeret, would say Ata Gibor, and include the words Mashiv Haruach Umrid HaGeshem 90 times. He would say it 90 times in a row. Why 90 times? Because the Yerushalmi says for 30 days, after you've been saying it for 30 days, that's your new habit. 30 days, you daven 3 times a day, Shachrit Mincha Maariv, hopefully, right? That's 3 times Shmoneh Esrei. 30 times 3 is 90. So he said, if you say it 90 times in the first day, then you are already accustomed to say it. And then later on, if he would forget or he wouldn't remember what he said, he would not have to repeat. Because he'd already said it 90 days. The Rosh paskins this way as well, and a number of the Rishonim agree with him. It's brought down, the Darkei Moshe brings as well, that this would apply not only to Ata Gibor, but this would also apply to V'tein Talu Matar Livracha, right? If you'd say that 90 times, then you wouldn't have to. We assume that you have changed your habit. And you're all sitting here thinking, oh no, do we have to now say 90 times? So, we're not finished. First of all, there's a few questions like this on this before we see the dissenting opinion. Not everybody agrees, but just already in the number, there's a problem. If the point is that you say it for 30 days, and yes, 30 times 3 is 90, but wait a minute. It's not correct that we say this from Ashrei 90 times over those 30 days. You have Shabbat, you have Rosh Chodesh, you have days on which you say Musaf, and therefore you have extra, right? So it would be more. The Khatam Sofer says, if you want to follow this Eitzah, you need to say it 101 times. Mishnah Berurah brings the Khatam Sofer, it says 101. Okay. That's in terms of Mashiv Haruach Umrid HaGeshem. In terms of V'tein Talu Matar Livracha, it would actually be the opposite case, because we don't say V'tein Talu Matar on Shabbat. We mentioned that previously as well. So it would be less than 90. So then the question now would be, are we going by the number of Shmoneh Esrei, or are we going by the number of days? And it could be L'chumra or L'kula in both directions. If you say that you require, let's start off with Mashiv Haruach Umrid HaGeshem, right? If it's required for the number of times that we say the Shmoneh Esrei, well, actually already in less than 30 days, you fulfilled it. But you would need to say, if you want to say it 90 times, you would need to say it 101 times. If you want to go by V'tein Talu Matar Livracha, if we say that it's necessary by that number of times you say Shmoneh Esrei, so you require 90 times, that would mean maybe that, let's say a person gets to Zayin Kislev and you can't remember what you've said. Well, it's been 30 days, but you haven't yet said it 90 times. So maybe we say you still go by the old habit. Okay, which direction do we go? This is something that Poskim discuss. The Mishnah Berurah says at the end of the day, we actually go L'kula on both counts. So whether it's been either 90 times or 30 days, he says that's enough, and you can rely on that. But there's some interesting questions that come up as well with this discrepancy. For example, Poskim discuss if somebody missed a day or somebody missed a few days, right? Let's say you forgot, you said the wrong bracha, you said V'tein bracha instead of V'tein Talu Matar Livracha. You only remembered now later on when it's too late and you can't do your tashlumin. So do you have to wait an extra day? Another case which the Poskim bring up is if you have an Ava who is the Shlech Tzibur every day. So that person will have david not just will have done double the amount of Shmoneh Esrei. Would we then say Shari Tshuva brings an opinion and says only has to wait 15 days, 16 days, and then already it's a new habit. But in any event, so those are some of the questions that come up. But the Maharam had this, as we said, minhag that he would already, in order not to get into any shilas, on Shmini Atzeret would say it 90 times, and that would be enough. Rabbeinu Peretz, who is another one of the Rishonim, argues vehemently against the Maharam. He says, "What? This doesn't work. How can you do it?" The Gemara said, Yerushalmi said, after 30 days, a person becomes accustomed to saying something differently. What do you're not praying, it's not the same. Every time you get up and you say your Shmoneh Esrei and you're in your place and you've got the siddur and you're accustomed to saying the things, and that's how you build the habit. Just to stand there and say it again and again and again, that doesn't work. It does not achieve the same thing. The question is, what's behind their machloket? And the Maharam brings a proof for his opinion from a very, very interesting place. Okay, sometimes you see this. You see one area of Torah and you see it's connected to another area somewhere completely unexpected, something completely different. we would not probably intuitively think that the halachot of what we say in the Shmona Esrei, and where we have to go back, is related to Bava Kama, related to Dinei Shor HaMuad, but it is. And this is what the Maharam says. The Maharam says his proof for the fact that you can come on Shmini Atzeret, or you can come on Zayin Choshvan, and you can say it 90 times, and that's enough. He learns it from the din of Shor Muad. We know that in Dinei Nezikin, there are two types of shor. There are two types of oxen. There is a shor tam and a shor muad. A shor tam is an ordinary ox, but once it has gone and gored and damaged and killed people 3 times, we've established a chazaka, and that becomes a shor muad. And then there are going to be differences. It is known. There's an expectation that ox would cause damage. There's an expectation that it would act in a different way, and therefore, in terms of the damages that the owner has to pay, are going to be higher, etc. So the Gemara in Bava Kama discusses when does it become a shor muad. It says after it's been done 3 times. Rabbi Yehuda says 3 times on 3 different days. Rabbi Meir says it doesn't have to be 3 different days. It can be three different occasions, but they can be spread out or they can be closer together. It doesn't matter. But once it's happened 3 times, that is now called a shor muad. It has changed the status. So says the Maharam, just like over there you see, and Rabbi Meir says that it doesn't matter how far apart these gorings took place. It will happen in one go, but one after the other. So too over here, you changed your habit. You said your Mashiv Aruach Umrid HaGeshem. You said your Tein Talam Atal Livracha the 90 times, 100 times that you have to say it, and that's enough. That's what the Maharam says. Rabbeinu Peretz again says, well, what is Shor Muad got to do with the laws of tefillah, with the laws of what a person is accustomed to saying, etc. So Rav Shimon Shkop over here has amazing insight. He says this is what the machloket between Maharam and Rabbeinu Peretz. It could be that this is not just a semantic question in terms of what you can say and when you get used to it, but it could be that it's really they are arguing about what the definition of Shor Muad is and a fundamental concept of Torah. He says, well, I have an ox that comes along now. I say this is a short time. Once it's gone and gored and caused this damage 3 times, it now takes on a different status. The question is, conceptually, what has happened? What has happened when that ox is gone and it's gored 3 times? Is it that originally it was a short time, it was an innocent animal, and it went once and gored, and went again, and it has now changed its behavior. It's changed its habit, so to speak. It has now become something else, meaning by the fact that it is gored the 3rd time, that has caused a change in the status of the ox. That's one way of looking at it. Or is it that no change took place at all? This was always a shor muad. We just didn't know. We had no way of telling. And once it has happened, once it's gone and it's done this 3 times, it's now been revealed to us. It's now been clarified to us that actually this is a shor muad, and it was a shor muad all along, and this is what's going to be the din. In other words, put it in yeshivish jargon, is it a siman or a siba? Right? According to the first explanation, we said that is a siba. This is causing the change. According to the second explanation, it's a siman. It's just revealing something that was there. No change has taken place, but it's just become clear to us, and it's now been revealed. So he says, Shimon Shkop writes this, the Stapler also writes a similar explanation. He says maybe that's the machloket between the Maharam and the Rabbeinu. That the Maharam would say that this is a siba. This is causing the change. It's by doing that action 3 times in the case of the ox. Or in our case, by doing the action 90 times, saying the same thing 90 times in a row, we've changed our behavior, we've changed our habit, we've not become a shor muad, but we've become used to saying v'tein talam atar, and therefore that would work. According to the Rabbeinu Peretz, he says you could say that no, over there it's just revealed that there's been a change, that it was something different. It's not that action itself of goring is not changing the status of the ox. And in the same way, you can say this now as much as you like, but it's going to take time. It's going to take those 30 days in order for you to actually change your habit, to change what you're used to saying, and therefore it wouldn't work. Practical halacha l'maisa. Shulchan Aruch writes this eitzah regarding, he writes it in the other direction in terms of saying Maariv Hatal. He doesn't say you have to do it. He says if a person wants to and they decide to say it 90 times, then they would have that chazakah. The Rama adds in that same thing. If a person wants to say 90 times in a row, then it would work. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach writes against it. And he says, better not to do it for the following reason. He says that we think there's a machloket in the Rishonim. There are poskim who say that you say it 90 times in a row, it's changed your habit. There are poskim who say you say it 9 times in a row, you haven't changed your habit. So he says, if you say it 90 times in a row, and then within those 30 days, you say the wrong thing, now you have a safek. If the halacha is that having said it 90 times, you've changed your habit, you don't have to go back. But if the halacha is like that it takes 30 days, you do have to go back, but maybe you haven't gone back, so you can't go back, so now you're worse. So he says that regarding the Tein Talam Atar Livracha. He says, by the way, regarding Mashiv Aruach U'Mid HaGeshem, actually, which is what the Maram originally spoke about, Shlomo Zalman says you can say that, and that's a good minhag to say it 90 times. Why? Because in Eretz Yisrael, where you're in any case you're saying Morid Hatal, so if you had said Morid Hatal and you had forgotten to say Mashiv Aruach, you wouldn't have to go back and say and repeat it. So therefore, having said it the first time 90 times, all that you've done is increase the chances that you actually got your tefillah right. Therefore, he says that is a minhag yefeh. B'chanani v'nakash omer tzakadosh baruch hu l'zakot Yisrael v'chach b'alem Torah mitzvot shnei madrech betzman tzidko yagdil Torah v'yad.